Hello and welcome back to STEM Girl Budgeting. My husband and I live in a high cost of living city on a $170,000 annual income, and we are both in our mid-20s and we have no kids. We are actively working on investing a large percentage of our income on our journey to financial independence. We combined our finances 3 years ago and budget together in a software called You Need a Budget, or YNAB. Okay, so that's a little bit about us, but today I want to talk about Ramit Sethi's conscious spending plan. So Ramit is a popular financial guru who wrote a book back in 2009 called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. He also started a Netflix TV show called How to Get Rich in 2023 and runs a pretty popular podcast and YouTube channel. Ramit famously does not believe in traditional budgeting, and he prefers that people keep their fixed expenses reasonable and then automate savings and investing, and then they can just spend the rest guilt-free. And while I love budgeting, I generally think that these are good principles and wanted to fill out my own conscious spending plan to figure out if our percentages are aligned with Ramit's recommendations. So let's get started. All right, so here we have the conscious spending plan. This is an Excel file that is available for anyone to download. You can just go to Ramit's website and download it for free. So here we have our net worth statement, and then you can put in your income. I added a couple of bonus categories here, and then these are what he considers fixed costs. These are kind of the things that you have to spend every single month. And then you have investments, savings goals, and then the rest is just guilt-free spending. So let's just start to fill this out. So I created 3 columns here, and the reason why I did that is because I wanted to first show you guys how does our real past spending from the last year line up with the recommended percentages that Ramit gives. And then I also want to show you our current plan and what our plan will be in 2026, just because I think it's interesting. Another important reason why I'm separating this out is because my husband recently changed jobs and doubled his income, and so our spending plan is a bit different than it was May 2024 to April 2025. So I thought it would be interesting to give both examples. Okay, so for net worth, I'm just going to fill out this current plan column because I just don't feel like it's really necessary to fill out this one. It's just more straightforward. So I'm only going to fill out the current plan column. And so for assets that are physical assets, we really just have our car. And according to Kelley Blue Book, it's worth about $4,500. And then for investments, these are all in either retirement accounts or our taxable brokerage. And that's $52,847. And then our savings, which I just consider this all of the cash that we have, that's $55,950. We are working on getting rid of some of this cash and investing some of it because we're just always cash heavy, and I think that will become clear as I fill out this plan. Okay, and then in terms of debt, we don't have any actual debt, but we do have credit cards. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but there is a really loud motorcyclist. I do live in a city, so sometimes it's very loud outside. Okay, so maybe I'll just redo this. So for debt, we only have credit cards, and we pay these off in full every single month. It's just a little bit high right now because we had to make some purchases that we don't always have to make. Okay, so current net worth, $108,441. So next for income, I'm going to start with what our monthly income was between May 2024 and April 2025. So we made on average $9,167, and we paid $1,278 in taxes, which then puts our net income at $7,889. I did add these categories here, but we didn't contribute to a 401k or an HSA until my husband just recently got his new job. So $7,889 is the net income that we're working with. We do not own a home, we rent. We live in a 600 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment because it's a high cost of living city. It's very expensive to get larger apartments, and we're only 2 people. So on average, during this time period, we spent $2,110. Our utilities on average came to $110 over the course of the year. And then for insurance, we paid on average $155 for our auto insurance and our renter's insurance and a couple of other little things. We do not have a car payment, but we did have just general transportation costs, including gas, parking, tolls, also any maintenance that we had to do. And during this time period, that came to a total of $225. We are debt-free, so 0 debt payments. And then for groceries, we spent on average $367. And I like to split up groceries and then household consumables and laundry just because I like to. And so for household items, we spent on average $54. On our phones, we spent $70. And for subscriptions, on average, we spent $48. And then miscellaneous, 0. I account for everything in our budget, so we really don't need to do a miscellaneous category because we've been budgeting for years. We know what we spend on things. So right here, you can see that in this last year, our fixed costs were only 40%. Ramit says that they can be between 50 to 60, so that's pretty good. Obviously, if we were contributing to either of these accounts, that would have decreased our net income, and then the fixed cost would have been a higher percentage of our take home. Okay, and then as for investments, on average in this time period, we invested $1,733 into our Roth IRAs. This is a little bit higher than what the monthly average would be to max it out because we tend to front load our Roth IRAs in the beginning of the year. And so that's why this average is kind of high. And then I decided to just delete all of the savings goals and just do it this way because the way that we do our budget, we very much believe that all money is spending money in a way. The only reason you save money is to spend that money in the future. And so it doesn't really make sense in my head to consider things like vacation savings and gift savings as actual savings because hypothetically, you're just going to be spending that money at like a later date. And so I'd rather think about those savings as part of our fixed expenses or our guilt-free spending. But we did have a lot of money that we were not spending on guilt-free spending and that we were not spending on fixed expenses. And so for this time period, the cash that we just had in savings during this time period, which kind of explains why we have so much cash right now, was $1,816. This was cash that really didn't have a serious purpose. I think we did use some of it on filling up our emergency fund and some other things, but we are very, very cash heavy. I think we just have a tendency not to actually spend our money. And on average, we were only spending about $1,200 a month on guilt-free spending. And for us, that includes dining out, also travel, dates, charity, gifts, Christmas, all of our individual personal spending money, furniture, decor, tech, anything related to career development, only $1,200 a month. And then we were spending $1,700 a month on, investments. And then the rest was just kind of sitting there. And I don't think that's good. So I'm going to unhide this so that you can see what our breakdown was in summary. So 40% on fixed, so a bit lower than the recommended. And then we were investing, I guess, more than the recommended, but I think that makes sense because we weren't doing any pre-tax investments. And then we were saving a ridiculous amount for who knows what. And then our guilt-free spending was definitely low at 15%. So I thought this was very, very interesting. So now I'm gonna go back and talk about what our current plan is now that my husband did start a new job. So we are very excited about this job because we're going to be able to invest a lot more. And I think that we were a little conservative with our investments last year. So now we've cleared that up. We're going to actually take advantage of the money that we have so that we can put it towards our financial goal of reaching financial independence early and then having flexibility in our careers to take jobs that we actually want to take, perhaps retire early, or if we start a family later, that we can actually spend money and enjoy time with our kids. So let's get into it. So for income, on average, we now make $13,770. This is a little bit of a lower estimate, but that's just what I'm going to do for this. For taxes, we're going to be paying on average $3,170 because we're making really high contributions to our 401k because we haven't been contributing to it. And then we also have an HSA that we are maxing out. So our net monthly income is actually smaller than it was last year, but I think this is good because we clearly do not spend very much money, and I think it's better, our money is better served actually going towards things that are going to, help us reach the goals that I talked about. Okay, so for rent, our rent is a bit higher now, so it's $2,175 a month. Utilities, we're going to plan on $120. Insurance, this is a bit higher. Sorry, it's actually $624 because my husband is self-employed now. He is a 1099 contractor, and we have to pay for his medical insurance separately. And so that's why this is much higher. For transportation, we're planning on about $220, 0 debt payments. For groceries, $450. It probably won't end up being that high, but we want to start spending more on groceries and getting nicer groceries. I think we're a little bit too frugal. And then $60 for household. We did change our phone plans to Mint Mobile because we honestly don't use that much data because my husband works from home. At work, I always have Wi-Fi, so we don't really need that many gigabytes per month, and so we each just pay $20 a month annually for our phones. Okay, and then for subscriptions, we're going to say that this is still $48. And then again, 0 miscellaneous. So our fixed expenses are a bit higher because of this medical insurance, and our net income is a bit lower because of our pre-tax deductions. So now we're at 53%, which is right in this recommended range of 50 to 60%. So I think that's good. And then for post-tax retirement savings, this is actually 0 right now because we already maxed out our Roth IRAs, but we are doing some additional investing of $1,000 a month. And I guess this isn't really in stocks. I mean, it is, but we invest in index funds. So I'm just going to correct that. So this goes into our taxable brokerage. And then savings. I already gave you my whole speech about how all money is spending money, like all savings is also spending money, unless it's going towards something like an emergency fund. And our emergency fund is fully funded right now. So we really don't need to be accumulating any more cash beyond any kind of short-term things that we're saving for. And I consider all of that to be able to fit into this category of guilt-free spending, because normally we're just saving for like travel or something. Or perhaps we're saving for car maintenance, which is also in this category. So I'm just going to put 0. And so then our guilt-free spending total is $2,380 that we can spend on average throughout the year. This is honestly so much money. It's just crazy because our income has grown so much. We're contributing now more than ever to our retirement. So our net income is lower, But we still have so much money that we can spend on guilt-free spending. And I honestly don't know how we're going to spend it all because we only spent $1,200 last year on average on all of these different things. So I think that this exercise has really showed, I don't know, it's really taught me that we need to just spend more money. I think we need to enjoy our lives a little bit more. I mean, I feel like we have everything that we need, but I want to invest in probably higher quality clothes. I want to go visit my family, maybe even more often than I do for shorter periods of time. We both live very far from our families at the moment, and I think it would be good to invest in that. We also want to start donating a lot more to charity, and if you watched my recent video on my YNAB category breakdown, I mentioned that. And so my goal, our goal, my husband and I's goal for this year is to actually spend on average $2,000 for the year. We want to spend $24,000 on guilt-free spending. I think that would be really good for us, and maybe we won't quite make it, but I think that would be good. And then if we're not going to spend that money, I want us to just invest it. Like, it should just go towards investing so that we can actually get closer to our goal of financial independence. And so my guess is that's probably what's going to happen, is maybe we'll start spending a little bit more than $1,200, and maybe we'll spend like $1,700, and then the rest can go to additional investing. So I think that's going to be our plan. Okay. Now, really briefly, I just want to show what our plan is for 2026, because this is just going to I feel like this is a little bit more representative of what we're going to be doing. Let me just save that really fast so it doesn't look like that. So, okay. Still the same gross income, same taxes, except we might end up owing a tiny bit more in taxes because we're going to be doing, actually, I don't think we will. I do all of our tax calculations myself because we have to do estimated tax payments, but let's just say that this is true. And then our traditional 401k will be more like $2,042 a month, because I think the annual limit is going to be $24,500. And then this is going to go up a little bit too, because it's going to be $4,400 a year. This is my husband's HSA, that's why the limit's a little bit smaller. Okay, and then all of this, we're planning for it to be the same. And then we're going to just contribute to our Roth IRAs throughout the year instead of front loading. So we're just going to contribute the monthly amount that we need to max both of our Roth IRAs, which is $14,000, and then we're also going to be contributing the monthly amount so that we can max my husband's 401k. Okay, and then we're still going to do $1,000 into index funds, and then I already gave you my spiel about saving. All savings is just spending. I don't think we need a separate savings goals. I think it's confusing. And so, yeah, here we have still over $2,200 that we can spend guilt-free in 2026. And I feel like this is a little bit more representative of what our situation will be moving forward, where we're still investing quite a bit of money pre-tax and 26% of our net income post-tax into both retirement and into a taxable brokerage. And we're trying not to accidentally save more money. If we're going to be saving money, we should be investing money, or we should be using it during the year to live our rich lives. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope this makes sense. I feel like this was really, really eye-opening of the fact that I feel like people who use YNAB, at least for us, we have a tendency to oversave, over-prepare, and I just feel like we were accumulating all of this cash for no purpose. And I think something I really like about Ramit is that he wants people to live their rich lives, to think about what's important to them, and, go for it. And I think this exercise has really helped, at least me, see that, okay, we can spend more money. We can definitely spend more money. We can go on more trips. We can see our family more. We can buy nicer clothes. We can buy nicer groceries. And we're not going to go crazy because we're pretty frugal people. And we're still going to meet all of our goals. We're still going to be able to retire early from this plan. We're on track. I mean, maybe we won't end up being able to do that as, if we start to have kids, and kids are expensive. But at least for now, we're doing well. And this has really helped me see that. It's helped me see all of these different things. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope that this is particularly helpful for people who use YNAB. I don't think we should be using it in the exact way that Ramit intended for it to be used, and so I think these modifications make a lot of sense for someone who is a YNABer. So I hope this helps. I hope this also helps other people think about their finances, and please subscribe if you are interested in following our journey. I love making videos. I think this is a really fun side hobby of mine right now. So yeah, please subscribe if you're interested in watching budget with me's, learning about investing, seeing different spreadsheets that I make, and all of those sorts of things. All right, so have a great rest of your day and week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.